Hello and good evening, everyone. Those who are in Asia, and good morning to those in Europe. I see that we have a family, a get together of all of you who are from different parts of the world. So, yes, a warm welcome to all of you. Do you feel overwhelmed just thinking about all you have to do? Do you find yourself snapping at others who seem to be too laid back? Have you given up too many things that you used to enjoy because you're too focused on work? Well, you may be a victim of mental fatigue. There is a saying by Dale Carnegie: our fatigue is often caused not by work, but by worry, frustration, and resentment. Today, we have joining us Didi Usha, who was born in Africa and came in contact with Brahma Kumaris in 1974. She is a senior Raj Yoga meditation teacher and practitioner, and she's currently based in Mount Abu, Rajasthan, India. Her guidance has encouraged people to overcome mental stress, depression, anxiety, addictions, low self-esteem, and various other mental issues. She is also an author of many books. So if I could just go on about Didi Usha, because she is so talented and so full of wisdom. But without further ado, I shall now hand over the platform to her. So let us all welcome her. Om
Thank you so
Shanti.
much. Om Shanti, Om Shanti. It's a pleasure for me to be with you all today on this beautiful subject that you have chosen. Especially, I would say this is the need of the hour. And overcoming mental fatigue. Yes. Each and every human being in today's world, you rightly pointed out that it is not just stress, but there are many other things that make us mentally tired, mentally fatigued. And all this is because maybe of our lifestyle. Yesterday only, I was just reading some lines in a book, and it said that 50 years back, people used to live a very simple life. And the moment we started becoming modern, now after 50 years, we are realizing that this is the wrong path that we have chosen. And so people are moving back towards that lifestyle. Before, people used to say, oh, farmers, you should use pesticides, you should use this, otherwise your crop will get destroyed by the insects. And this is how they started adopting pesticides and all those things. Now realizing how those pesticides have damaged so many things. So now we are moving back to organic farming. People want organic things. And we pay a big price for it also, because we feel, no, that lifestyle is better. Before, people thought, oh, milk, what is there in cow milk? We need this, we need that. So they switched over to almond milk, or they switched over to soya milk and so many things back. And now again in India, people want to go back to cow milk, especially for those who are not vegans. Yeah, for those who have who are becoming vegans are realizing this is also not good. But slowly again, we find the shift is coming in human nature, in human behavior, in human lifestyle. Because ultimately, we have started realizing so many things. So, mental fatigue, a beautiful subject. And I was thinking on this subject, why do we get fatigued? Why do we get tired? And I feel just as physically, if someone gets tired, if someone feels exhausted, and we go up to the doctor, they will say, I think your immunity is so low, you need to take some good vitamins, minerals, so that you boost up your immunity, you enhance your immunity. Recently, also with this COVID-19 pandemic, it was seen and realized that those with low physical immunity became victims of COVID-19 very easily. And many people lost their lives also because of that. And many people are finding vacuum in their life because of missing those people. But those who had good immunity, although they were in the same house, but they did not become victims. Similarly, it was seen that those who were mentally fatigued, they also became victim of this COVID-19 and they also lost their lives. So, for mental fatigueness to overcome mental fatigue, we need to boost up our spiritual immunity. This is the need of the hour. When we say we need to boost our spiritual immunity, what do we mean by boosting our spiritual immunity? Because the focus till today was so much on the physic side of a personality, that physically you should be fit. And so people did a lot of exercises. They went to gym, they went to do this, that, so that they are physically healthy and they can stand whatever may come. So our complete focus was on physical side of the body only. But now the need is to shift this focus also and turn inwards and rise spiritually, increase our spiritual immunity. And for that, I think we need to become spiritually mature. Just as when a person is physically mature, they know what is good, what is not good for their bodies, and accordingly, they sustain themselves in that way. Similarly, to become spiritually mature, or to increase our spiritual maturity, we also need three things. The first is wisdom, knowledge. Secondly, relaxation. And third, we need some exercises. Just as to keep ourselves physically fit, we need these three things. We need proper nourishment for the body, good vitamins, minerals for the body. Secondly, we need rest. And third, we need exercise. Then only we gain that spiritual immunity. Similarly, in order to gain that mental immunity or spiritual immunity, because if the psyche is healthy, then mentally also we are fit and we are able to take up any sort of pressure. There is no problem for us. Nowadays, when people are exhausted mentally, small things also create a lot of pressure on the mind. And it is impossible to handle all that pressure. We find small children at a very young age also. They have also developed this nature of creating that mental pressure on themselves. Maybe it is study pressure, maybe it is their future pressure or the expectations of the parents. So they are also going through a lot of pressure from this young age. And in that, they sometimes adopt a wrong path. And this wrong path which they adopt is too much thinking. It's not just too much thinking. Initially, it starts with too much thinking. Then it is waste thinking. And then it turns into negative thinking. But whenever people generate a lot of thoughts, each thought is consuming mental energy and spiritual energy. And when it consumes, so in waste thoughts or negative thoughts, what happens? Most of our energy is just draining. We drain a lot of energy. There is a leakage of our spiritual energy. And this is why people feel as if they're exhausted. They cannot take up any more. It is enough that they have handled till now. So this is what they feel. Because nobody till now has ever guided us that whenever we feel mentally pressurized, whenever we feel as if we are handling too much and we start thinking too much, nobody advised us which thoughts should we choose. How is it that we will be able to handle ourselves in the future if we are just going to take up all these negative thoughts, waste thoughts continuously? So, as I said, to handle our mental fatigue, the first thing is constantly nourish the self, nourish the mind with some good, healthy thoughts. There is an awareness in this world about positive thinking. In fact, small children also have started advising their parents, why are you thinking negative? Be positive. Think positive. Initially, we had advised this to our parents also, but nobody told us how is it that we are going to adapt to those positive thoughts. Because, as I said, that awareness is there. But in order to think positive, I need to have that much stock of thoughts, positive thoughts. which is not there. Nowadays on WhatsApp, we get good thoughts, beautiful thoughts. Early morning, we just open our WhatsApp and we see so many nice, good, positive thoughts people are sending to one another. But this is just to send others. Hardly we ever have time to ponder upon those thoughts. What do those thoughts really mean? And how can it be applied in our lives? Whenever a person reads those WhatsApp good morning thoughts, positive thoughts, the first thing that comes into their mind is, okay, this thought is good for that person. Let me send them. And we immediately forward to them, hardly realizing, is it useful in my life? Can I apply this thought in my life and see the result? So we hardly ponder upon it because human beings do not have time. They feel as if they're lacking time. So the first thing, they just forward it and that's it. So I am empty. I have not stored anything for myself. I have not nourished my mind with those thoughts by pondering upon it and creating this habit of positive thinking. So the first thing is, the more inputs I have of good thoughts, spiritual thoughts, and it is not just inputs, but with those inputs, I should ponder upon it, I should churn upon it, and find means and ways of how I can really apply it in my life. And let me see the result. Let me experiment it in my life. And the moment we start doing that, that is when we will see the real beauty of those thoughts. And then if we can share those experiences with all those who really need them, we can really guide them, help them to overcome their mental fatigue as well. So, first of all, I need to have those sources from where I can get those beautiful thoughts, spiritual thoughts, and treasure it within myself. This is what I need. In today's world, as I said, that day by day times are changing, and we can all feel that we are going through delicate changing times. Time is becoming so delicate, and we are all passing through those delicate times. Just imagine when we are going through those delicate times, and if internally, mentally, spiritually, if I break down, what will happen? Going through those delicate times and breaking down means I will be just shattered. So when we know going through these delicate times, I need to be internally empowered, internally very strong, internally very brave. And for that, I said, we all need to be spiritually matured. The more spiritual maturity I increase in myself, that spiritual maturity is going to make me strong inside. It is really going to help me empower myself from within. But when we talk of these things, many times people would say, we don't have time. All these things requires time. And where is the time? We don't have time. When can we do all these things? We are so busy, we are so caught up, we are so busy in our lives, only we don't hardly find time for ourselves. Yes, where is the time? I would say if God changes the time calendar and gives us 1 hour extra, okay, from today, instead of 24 hours, I give you 1 hour extra for yourself. So let me make a 25-hour day for you. So 1 hour extra. We won't know where that 1 hour would also go. And we will still have the same complaint. Where is the time? We don't have time. It reminds me of a beautiful story that once there was a person who was looking for a job. He went to so many places searching for a job. Everyone would say, well, there's no vacancy, no vacancy. Finally, somebody told him, why don't you go to see that merchant? Maybe he has some vacancy for you. So he goes up to that merchant who was a timber merchant. So he goes up to him and says, I want some job. So the timber merchant asked him, what do you like to do? So he said, I can do anything. I'm strong, healthy. You can give me any type of task and I will definitely complete that task. So the timber merchant took him behind where there was a huge backyard. And in the backyard, there was so many trees, logs. And he said, showing him one pile, I need to cut all these logs. Can you do that? So he said, yes, I'm strong, I can do it. So that merchant said, okay, start off. He gave him an axe and he said, by the end of the day, I'll definitely come to see how much work you've done. And then I can finalize whether you are eligible for this work or not. So he said, okay. He started cutting those pieces of logs with the axe. And by the end of the day, the merchant came to take a round and saw how many pieces of wood have he cut. And he saw that he has cut about 25 pieces of wood. So he was happy and said, well, you have good strength. So your job is finalized now. Okay, you come every day morning, 9 o'clock. Till 5 o'clock evening, you have to cut this huge pile of wood. This is lying there. So he said, okay. He was very happy. He went off. He had good sleep. Again, the next day, he came up, started cutting the wood. And about 10 days passed. And after 10 days, that merchant felt, let me go and see what is that young person doing. So he came on around in the evening and he saw that he had cut about 15 pieces of wood the whole day. So he says, well, the first day you cut 25 pieces. Today you have cut only 15 pieces. Why is your strength coming down? What has happened to your efficiency? So this young man says, well, I can't understand. I'm trying the whole day. I do not feel lazy also. I do my work sincerely, but I just don't understand why I'm not able to cut 25 pieces and why the number is coming down. So he said, put some extra effort. So I said, okay, from tomorrow I'll put some extra effort. So the next day he started putting some more extra effort. But the whole day he was rigorously working on it, but still he was not able to reach 25 pieces of wood. The number still comes down. After another 10 days, the merchant again goes down to see what this young man is doing. And he sees that he has cut only 10 pieces of wood the whole day. So he asks him, what is the matter? Why only 10 pieces? The first day you cut 15 logs. The first day you got 25 logs, and today it's just 10 logs. What's the matter? So he says, I don't understand. I put my effort, I work hard, I do not even rest, but I don't know why the number is still coming down. So the timber merchant was experienced. He said, just tell me, how many times did you sharpen your axe? So the young man says, the whole day I'm cutting the wood. Where is the time? I have no time. If I sit down to sharpen the axe, it will take so much of time and I won't be able to finish my work. So this experienced merchant tells him, look, the first thing in the morning when you come, you have to sharpen your axe. And then you see the result. Then you see how your efficiency also brings good results. You're putting a lot of effort, but because you have not sharpened the axe, the outcome is so less and your efficiency is just wasted. Are we not doing the same thing? Early morning, we need to sharpen our axe. We need to sharpen our minds with spiritual wisdom. When I'm able to sharpen my mind with spiritual wisdom, the efficiency brings out good outcomes. Instead of getting mentally fatigued, we are able to bring out better results. We'll be able to handle all the pressures. In today's age, we are doing a lot of work, but because we have not sharpened our axe, what happens? Small things create misunderstandings. Small things brings anxiety in us. Small things brings under pressure, so much of stress. So much of relationships are breaking up. All this is happening. And by the end of the day, we are so burnt out. We are so mentally exhausted. We do not wish to think anything else. And sometimes the hangover is such of those pressures that we are not able to have good rest also. We are not able to have good sleep also. And the next day also, with that exhausted feeling, we start the day. And there are so many mistakes that we make throughout the day and we cannot understand what's happening to us. And during such times, if this prolongs for some days, that's when a person breaks internally. Is shattered from within. So this is why I said the first thing in the morning is we need to sharpen our axe with spiritual wisdom. Initially, in the olden days, people used to pray, people used to spend some time in their small temples or whatever good things they had to read, some nice spiritual anecdotes also they used to apply in their lives. They used to have good thoughts which really helped them. And when they sharpened their axe with those thoughts, they applied in their lives. And that is how It is not that only today we are having or going through a lot of pressures. And in those olden days, there was no pressures for our parents or our grandparents. No, they also had a lot of pressures. But because they used to sharpen their minds regularly, they were able to handle those pressures. Their efficiency used to bring them results. Today, in fact, we have more efficiency than them. We are mentally more efficient. Mentally, our capacities can also be enhanced, but we first need to increase our spiritual immunity so that in these changing times, we all know we are going through great transformational changes. And during these times, I need to nourish myself from within so that I can empower myself. Spiritual thoughts should not just remain in our WhatsApp messages, but let us take out some time in the morning, read a beautiful thought, ponder upon it, and try to go into the depth of its meaning and find ways and means to apply. And our life is like a laboratory. Let us try to experiment. That today, whatever may be the reason, whatever may be the situation in our life, but let me apply this one thing, one spiritual thought. And you see, when you apply that spiritual thought, you get such beautiful results. And even in your pressures, you will be able to not just handle yourself, you'll be able to handle the situation also. You'll be able to have control on other people's attitudes also. Many a times we find people saying, okay, if I charge myself from within, if I sharpen my mind with the spiritual thoughts, but out in the world, we have to encounter those people and situations where they discharge our battery also very fast. How can we handle ourselves during those times? But let me tell you the experience that whenever we charge ourselves from within, we are able to understand other people also very well, and we empower them also. Recently, somebody asked me, sister, as such, I don't get angry. As such, I don't get angry easily. But when someone speaks lies, no, I can't tolerate. It really makes me angry. When somebody is trying to fool me, somebody is trying to speak lies, thinking that I don't understand, that really makes me upset and that really makes me angry. Otherwise, I don't get angry as such. If we analyze this situation, why does a person speak lie? Or when does a person speak lie? What makes him speak lies? When does he take the support of speaking lies? When there is fear. When the person has fear inside, he does not have the guts to face the truth. So that fear inside makes him take the support of lies. Let me speak lies. And he speaks lies. And you have sharpened your mind early in the morning, and you go there. And because he is not able to face the truth, so he's already weak. He has no spiritual immunity inside. He has no mental immunity. So he is always taking the support of weak things. Weakness, lies, speaking lies is a weakness. So he takes the support of a weakness and he speaks lie. But when you see him speaking lies and you get angry, is anger a weakness or a strength? Anger is also weakness. So weak person, if he can immediately make the spiritually charged person weak, who is powerful? You or him? Who is powerful? But if I've sharpened my mind with spiritual thoughts, if I apply those spiritual thoughts and let me experiment today. So when he speaks lies, I know that he's speaking lies. I feel pity on him that he cannot face the truth. He doesn't have the power to face the truth. So he's taking the support of a weakness. So feeling pity for that person, knowing inside he's speaking lies, just move away from that place. Instead of getting angry, just move away from that place. And apply that silence or take that beautiful, good thought which you have read in the morning about toleration or tolerance or otherwise, applying silence in our practical life. So such spiritual thoughts. So if I apply that and I just move from that place, now this person who has spoken a lie, he will go through internal tug of war. He didn't say anything. Even if I would have spoken the truth, he was not going to say, he wouldn't have said anything. There was no such difference. So after a half an hour tug of war inside, he gathers the strength, let me go and speak out the truth. See what happens. So he gathers the strength after half an hour and he comes up to you, sir, can I share something? And you ask him, yes, what would you like to say? And then he explains the whole situation. This thing happened, this thing happened, this thing happened. And so the whole thing was like that. But at that moment, I was not able to speak because I was having fear in me. After listening to the whole story, which you already knew, what would you say? No problem. It is good that you came up and told me. Thanks a lot. Give him a glass of water or something and thank him. And he goes out. Now, will the fear increase or will the fear decrease? The fear will definitely decrease. So the next time when something happens, he has the strength because his fear has lowered now. So he has the strength of coming up to you and saying, can I share something? And you respect him, respect his feelings, and find out whatever he has to say. And then whatever he says, thank him again. And this is how you empower the other person also. Otherwise, when he has that fear, you get angry on him, again the fear increases. The next time he's again going to speak lies, and that is going to ruin your life as well. That is going to create more mental fatigue in your life as well. So, always when I sharpen my mind with the spiritual thoughts, I do not just empower myself, but if I apply those things, I'm able to empower others also. And this is how we can create a beautiful atmosphere instead of creating an atmosphere of fear, lies, all the low frequency attitude. Let me create an atmosphere of the high frequency. And when we create an atmosphere of high frequency, no matter we work the whole day, but we still, by the end of the day, also feel equally enthusiastic, happiness. So let us create this in our homes also, in our workplaces also, and within our own lives also. That whoever comes in our life, whoever comes in our contact, they are also charged with that happiness, with that enthusiasm, with that zeal. They are able to also feel that energy. So when we sharpen our minds, we create that energy, high frequency energy in ourselves. We create an aura around us, fully charged. When the aura is there of positively charged vibrations, positively charged feelings, then we find whoever comes near us, they can also feel that energy. And when they go away from us, they tell others also. We don't know what was in that person, but whenever we met him, as if it was something that really holded us, gave us a beautiful feeling. We don't know. Sometimes, whenever we meet spiritually charged people, we have this feeling as if they have charged us. We all know Dadi Janki. At the age of 104 also, she was so charged. And whoever used to go to her used to get charged in her company. Why? Similarly, Dadi Gulzar. We all have seen these two great spiritual ladies. One was charged with silence. Dadi Gulzar was charged with the power of silence. And Dadi Janki was charged with the power of spiritual knowledge. Whoever would go to her should share something out of her own experiences. And this is how she used to practically nourish people with a spiritual impulse. And everybody remembers this great souls. Why? Because we have got those vibrations from there. That's why. Which can help us in our life also to charge our lives. If these spiritual personalities at this age, crossing 90 also, they were able to charge so many people through their energy. We never saw them mentally fatigued. No. So first thing is, we need to nourish ourselves with the spiritual thoughts, find time for ourselves, nourish and experiment in our life, get the experience and apply it. Secondly, is rest or relaxation. In order to overcome mental fatigue, the beautiful thing is we need to have good rest. Not to the physical body only, but spiritually also, relaxation is necessary. And that is where meditation really helps us. When I meditate, when I find time for myself and focus, constantly be in that consciousness for some time also. Let me practice that consciousness in my work, in my being with others, because meditation is not just taking our time, sitting in one place and sitting in silence, that is meditation. No, meditation is being with silence, not sitting in silence, being with silence, being in that consciousness where I rise my consciousness to that level. And when I be in that conscious, when I allow those vibrations to just flow, that gives me the strength from within. That helps me to empower myself. Meditation, as it is said, spiritually healing the self, where I heal my emotions, where I heal my attitudes, where I heal my perceptions. I heal myself from negative to positive. Just taking a different view of looking at things. We have the habit of perceiving things from a negative side. We have the habit of having a negative attitude. We have the habit of generating so many negative thoughts. But now, for some time, let me develop this practice, seeing from a different consciousness, perceiving from a different consciousness. And when I rise on a higher level, a higher plane, and see the whole situation, taking a bird's view with that consciousness, spiritual consciousness, then definitely everything starts changing. My complete outlook starts changing, whether it is mentally, physically, emotionally. And we are able to heal ourselves so much because we have damaged our own emotions. And that is why mentally fatigue is not just here, but mentally fatigue is when our emotions are damaged. That is when we drain ourselves, and that is when we feel so much mentally fatigued. So I need to heal myself at this level also. And emotionally, when I uplift myself, spiritually, when I uplift myself to that consciousness and become a companion of God, as Dadi Janki used to say, companion of God. Let me make God my companion. Being with Him at that level, and then handling so many things. It's not me alone, but who is my companion? That intoxication also helps me a great deal. And instead of being tired, exhausted, burnt out, I feel as if, no, there is some support, some support. Today there was an article, creating antibodies in ourselves, beautiful subject. And there was a small article on it that many a times people say, okay, you take this medicine and with this medicine you create antibodies in yourself. So that helps. Take this vaccination and it will create your antibodies and it will help you. And the article was on how we can create antibodies in our own life, especially when people are broken up. And we just put a hand on his shoulder or give him a hand, that touch, that feeling that I'm with you, don't worry, that starts creating antibodies in us. Whenever there is resentment, as you rightly said in the beginning, and we give them the feeling of support, that start creating antibodies. Instead of creating antibodies with medicine and vaccination, Why don't we create antibodies spiritually and emotionally? And when we have this feeling, God is my companion. Just imagine the amount of antibodies that are created in ourselves. This feeling of getting the support from the Supreme, who will never allow you to come down, never let you down in any situation. That feeling creates such antibodies. People, when they feel as if they're alone, that is when the mental fatigue increases. But when they feel as if there is someone besides them, with them, behind them, in front of them, that will never, will emotionally and spiritually make us so strong, we can never feel as if we are alone. We'll always have this feeling, no, he's there. We had that beautiful picture with Brahma Baba with the writing down, Mehuna. And when I am there, this writing, I am there, constantly reminds us that yes, he is there with us. I'm not alone. I'm not alone. And then we find as if we empower ourselves from within. We are always strong. We can overcome, handle ourselves in any sort of situations. And the third thing is exercises. Just as physical exercises makes people strong, gain the physical strength, but everything depends upon the mind. If the mind is weak, no matter how many exercises a person may do, join regular gym, but if he's not mentally healthy, he cannot face any situation. Similarly, exercises for the mind. What are the exercises for the mind? To make us mentally healthy, mentally powerful. As I mentioned in the beginning, all those beautiful thoughts, if I know how to exercise them in my life, if I'm able to exercise them, then we find as if we empower ourselves. Because every day we come up with a new experience. Many times people tell me, I never get any experiences. How do we get experiences? It is not that we do not get experiences. Everybody has some or the other experience in life. Experiences are only when we know how to experiment. Just as there is a chemistry student in a higher secondary school, and this chemistry student, the professor comes in and teaches the students about chemistry, about different chemicals and what their reaction is, and what all this is theoretically taught to them. After everything is done theoretically, then the professor would take those students to the laboratory where they need to experiment. Now they are given all those different chemicals and they are told, whatever I've taught you, whatever the professor has taught you, now you use those chemicals and come up with something else. And then they start mixing those chemicals, whatever they have learned, they practically experimented. And when they experiment, then they come up with such things which they never forget in their life. So theoretical knowledge is not enough. When it is practically experimented, they get such experiences they can never forget lifetime. Similarly, we have the spiritual inputs theoretically. But life is like a laboratory where I need to experiment all those spiritual teachings in my practical life. When I experiment, I come up with a new experience. And this is how, when we enrich ourselves regularly with new experiences, the zeal, enthusiasm, happiness, everything starts increasing. But if a person regularly, theoretically, goes to some spiritual discourse, goes to maybe the morning classes and everything, attends the classes, but nothing is practically experimented, no experience, no newness. And this is when we find life becomes like boredom, no new experiences. But all those spiritual teachings, if I experiment them every day, when I get a new experience, there is constant newness. And with that newness, there is new zeal and enthusiasm with which we fly. We are not just walking, but we get the wings to fly in life. Right? Okay. Any questions?
Thank you very much, Didi. It has been an amazing session today. You shared a lot of points. Mainly is being in a state of mental fatigue not only affects your well-being, it also spills over into your interactions with family, others you associate with. And it's very draining for others to be around someone who is continuously mentally exhausted. Mental fatigue is the result of brain overactivity. So overactivity in the brain. So you your overdrive eventually catches up with you and you deplete your mental gas tank. This was the points that I took note of. Yeah, there are a few questions here, but Didi, you were mentioning that we could do an exercise. So if you could just lead us for a few minutes of
Sure.
meditation, if we are experiencing mental fatigue, what we should do.
Okay. So I thought first we can take up any questions so that people are clear, and then we can have good meditation. But if you want to take up the questions afterwards, no problem. First, we can go through the exercise, and let us sit comfortably, relaxed. And for a few moments, let us turn our attention away from the external world, external surroundings, and visualize the self in the center of the forehead. This body is just like a costume that I have put on to play my role. But I am a conscient entity full of energy. I am a spiritual point of energy. There is a lot of energy within me. And as I have this spiritual awakening within me, I am able to allow those vibrations to flow around me. Slowly and gradually, I empower myself with the positive energy and when I've sharpened my mind with spiritual thoughts, and take a determined thought within myself to apply those thoughts in my practical life. Slowly and gradually, I turn my attention to the higher source, the source of all goodness, the source of all powers, the source of all divine powers. And I allow the energy to flow into my being and get spiritually charged. And let me create this feeling of making the source as my companion. He is the support. He is my best friend who's always there besides me. When my consciousness is on a higher plane with God as my companion, I have this feeling of being on the top of the world, completely charged. Such a beautiful feeling. Where there is no loneliness, no resentment, but I'm filled with the new energy. And there is a lot of enthusiasm and happiness to do something. I empower myself from within, make myself so strong, no matter what may come, but always having the feeling of greatness. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Om Shanti. So we'll start with the first question, Didi. Is can you get mentally fatigued from too much time alone?
Yes, because when a person has this feeling as if I'm alone, then sometimes we have thoughts of fear, maybe, which is constantly draining our mental energy. Sometimes we have this feeling of like being depressed. So that also creates a lot. And then somebody says something that starts creating a pressure on me. So this also brings mental fatigueness, definitely. Because when there is no one on whom I can rely on whom I can depend on, because since childhood we have been depending upon somebody or the other. And then when a day comes when I feel there is no one whom I can rely on, whom I can depend on, I'm alone. That loneliness creates such negative energy within the self that drains the mental energy constantly.
So I think that is when we need to practice what we did just now, that my companion is God, and that would
Mhm.
empower us. Thank you. Our next question is, how does one deal with the mental fatigue caused by chronic diseases or chronic pain?
Actually, pain can be realized and felt when in our consciousness we are weak, or we are so much body conscious that because of that consciousness we feel as if that pain is too much. Maybe sometimes the pain is not that too much, but because we are weak here, we are fatigued, tired here, exhausted here, so smallest thing also gives me a lot of pain. So that is why we find as if, yes, I need to be mentally strong, healthy inside. Then, no matter what may come, the biggest pains also cannot cause that pain emotionally to me or physically also. Recently, I've been observing that when people are taking the COVID-19 vaccination, especially in India, and I've seen that they tell us when they are giving the injections that 1 or 2 days you might have some, you may feel drowsy, or you may have fever, you may have this feeling. And I've been observing all the elders above 50, who have been taking vaccination, they did not get fever. Very surprisingly. They didn't even get fever, only a little bit of pain in the hand, one day only. But all below 50 who took the vaccination, they all had fever, they all had pain. It was difficult for them, even 2 days they went through the pain. So this shows that all those senior citizens who were above 50 and who took the vaccination, but because maybe they were spiritually charged or because they had this feeling, oh, it's okay, it's going to protect me in the future also. They had this positive frame of mind and they took the vaccination. And when they took the vaccination with that positive frame of mind, they didn't get fever. Only a little bit of pain they realized. Yesterday only, there was a lady about 65 and she took a vaccination. So the sister started advising, you may get fever, the immunity becomes low, so please don't go out, rest, do this. But when she was with this one, that this injection is going to protect me, that positive thought, she had no fever yesterday, no fever. I asked her, are you feeling pain? Don't do work. She said, no, I can do work. I can cut vegetables. I can do this. I said, you may feel pain. She said, no pain. And another sister who was 45, she took the injection because she had this education, she had this thought, even if they have vaccination, it is not that they are going to be protected from the COVID-19. They may get. So she got fever also, she got everything. And this was my observation yesterday only, and before also many cases. And I've been observing all those beyond 50, they had no fever. All those less than 50, everyone got fever. So this shows thoughts, how they can make you feel the pain, how they can create that favorish feeling also. They can give you, and we call them, they're educated people. And those beyond 50, they are not educated, but still they are able to have that positive consciousness. And with that positive consciousness, they have won upon their physical bodies also. They are able to digest that pain very easily, overcome. So this is why we need spiritual energy in us, so that no matter what may come, but it will constantly charge me from within, overcome all the pains in our life.
Thank you once again, Didi. There has been a message saying that, yes, a few of them also have heard the same, that the younger ones are feeling pain, whereas the older ones are not feeling pain. So indeed, thank you once again for joining us and sharing your wisdom with us. And thank you everyone for tuning in today. Our next session will be on the 17th of April at 4 p.m. Jakarta time. I have dropped my number in the chat box. Do send me a message so that I can update you with the details. Until then, stay safe, stay blessed, and stay mentally charged. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zabeen Ben.
Om Shanti.
The